that we are the offshoots, offsprings of animals, monkeys, chimpanzees, and this theory was propounded by Charles Darwin in the year 1871. Since then, everybody has started believing in this concept that we in fact have, as you are seeing in this slide, that this evolution has been depicted for the last about a millennium. It has been shown that we originated from very common lower forms of life, and we are the co-descendants of all these monkeys and chimpanzees. I am going to say that this concept, this particular part of the concept of Charles Darwin, perhaps that is not true. Maybe his other parts of the theory may be true, but this particular part of the theory, which says that we have evolved from the animal kingdom, human beings have evolved from the animal kingdom, that is not true. And this I am saying on the basis of certain results, certain thinking which has been done by me for the last about 25 years. This concept is the result of a 25 years of work. You see, The Descent of Man, the book written by Charles Darwin in the year 1871, it depicted maybe that we have undergone certain physical changes, but as per the theory evolved by me, I will try to prove that we are not the descendants of these chimpanzees and the animals. The reasons which I am going to put forward. Yeah. I'll say that this concept is less than 50% true. And the reason is that firstly, Charles Darwin himself admitted that whatever he is saying, that was all speculative. And secondly, he said that this may prove erroneous in the near future. This was the admission made by Charles Darwin. The second postulate on which I am basing my concept is that there are religious reasons. Every major religion of the world, be it Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, or some other religion, everybody says, every religion says that human beings is a different species. Islam and Christianity says that Adam and Eve were the first persons who descended on this earth. Hinduism says that it was Manu and Shatrupa who were the first persons on this planet, and thereafter their other offshoots, their sons and daughters, they inhabited this world. This was the religious context. I will not go into the religious context. I will try to prove my contention on the basis of what you call as rational thinking, and thirdly, I will try to prove it on the basis of scientific reasoning. Rational thinking is that if human beings have evolved from apes and monkeys, then why there are still so many monkeys and so many apes and so many gorillas? You see, there are millions and millions of monkeys who are still on this planet. Why they have been left alone? and why we evolved so fast. And if they have been left alone, what was the distinction between them and us if they are our co-brothers? See the journey of the man, from where the man started, from the Stone Age. Now the man has reached the moon, about to reach the Mars, invented so many things that you can conceive of the evolution and the progress of the man. And the apes, the monkeys, whatever they were doing about a million or billion years ago, they are still doing the same thing. They are still living on the plant, on the trees, still eating the same things, still doing the same things which they were doing about a million years ago. Why they did not evolve even 1% from that stage? There must have been some reason. And thirdly, the scientific reason which I am going to, and the consequences, I will come to the consequences firstly, and second, then I will come to the scientific reasons. The consequences of this, whatever I am going to say today, that will save billions and billions of rupees of the entire world community. You see, research is going on for the last 300-400 years in finding the reasons for whatever we do, why we do it. What are the reasons of doing that? And on the basis of that research, people gave certain concepts, certain theories that the violent crime, because I am a criminologist, so I am taking you to that part of the concept. I am not a scientist or a naturalist which can throw some light on that aspect, but from the angle of a criminologist I am saying this thing, that the violent crimes, on the basis of those research works carried out by them, they came to the conclusion that violent crimes are committed by the people because certain elements of that savage state which humans were about a million years ago, those things are still contained in the human minds, human brains. And it is the expression of that savage part that people commit crimes, that people kill others, that people rape others, that people do other violent things. And the world community has spent billions and billions in trying to come to this conclusion. But I say that if that was the only reason, then why people commit economic crimes, lust-related crimes, cyber crimes? These can't be explained in those terms because monkeys can't think of doing cyber crimes. They can't think of doing economic crimes. And if we had evolved from that state, then those animals should also do all these things. That means we are a different species. And the second consequence of this will be that you will be saving thousands and thousands of lives, human lives. And the third consequence would be that the government of India can create thousands of jobs at international level. This will be my appeal to the Modi government, to the central government, that if they start working on this line, then thousands of jobs can be created and we can save billions and billions from this. Now coming to the scientific part, as to whatever I do, why I do it, can that be explained from that angle of Charles Darwin or from other angle we have to think about it? For that matter, I will hurriedly rush through the functioning of the human brain or the human mind. From the biological angle, you see this human brain. This is the only group of cells which perhaps sends the man to the moon. But how those cells work, how this brain works, the first misconception about our brain is that we consider it to be a single organ, just like our kidneys, our heart, or our stomach. But this is not a single organ. It is composed of perhaps millions of sub-brains, maybe billions. Now, how the brain works? You see, we get signals from our five sense organs. Somebody touches me, presses it, that signal goes directly to the brain. Similarly, if I see something, there are 200 million sensors in our eyes. Those 200 million sensors are connected to maybe 200 million neurons or cells, brain cells. How those brain cells take action, how they decide, ultimately the signal goes from our sense organs. This signal goes to these dendrites, these are called dendrites. Ultimately from there, the signal reaches this part of the cell, which is called the administrative part of the cell, the controlling part of the cell. When the signal reaches here, this cell takes some decision and then gives the response. Then response is carried to our motor organs, whether I have to kill somebody with my hand, whether I have to defend myself with my hand, but whether I have to run away from that place. This action is taken by this part of the cell. Now, how this cell takes this decision? Whether this cell has got some brain, it has got some decision-making power, how it functions. And once it takes a decision, I am talking about the biological level. Once it takes a decision, then certain chemical reactions take place within the cell. Neurotransmitters are formed. And those neurotransmitters are formed by RNA and by the conjunction of proteins present in the cell. And then neurotransmitters are formed. Those neurotransmitters travel from this axon to different motor parts of the body, and then that decision is taken. But again, I am taking you to that part of the thinking, that how this cell takes a decision. And if it has got the decision making power, who is there to take that decision? Whether the cell is acting on its own, and whether our conduct, whether our behavior is the result of a single neuron, single cell. Whether the single neuron, single cell of Hitler decided that he should go for the Second World War and where millions and millions of people would be killed. And if this single cell is not having the capacity to take a decision, then who is there to take a decision? Who is taking the decision on our behalf? Is there somebody else? Who is there? And for that matter, neither Charles Darwin had any concept, nor the foreigners have any concept as to how the human beings act. What is human mind? And how our mind functions? What is the size of our mind? Where it is situated? Of what material it is composed of? How it takes a decision? What happens to that mind part after the death of the human being? What is soul? All these things were not known to the Westerners, and still perhaps they may not be clear about all these concepts. So that's why I have organized this today's function. And for that matter, you will have to go see this is the genetic material which is present in the cell. I say this is the double helix model which we inherit from our parents. Cytosine, adenine, thymine, and guanine. These are the four components of this genetic material. If we can take up or take away that some part of that genetic material, then perhaps we can change the thinking of the man and the whole conception about all these things. But for that matter, biology does not have any answer. For that matter, the answer lies in Indian theories, Indian concepts, Indian philosophical views. And those philosophical views are contained in our yoga, in our Sankhya philosophy, and four other philosophies of India called Mimamsa, and These are the four philosophies, six philosophies of India, which can lead the human being and which can lead to the international community to the results on which I am coming. And how the human behavior can be changed. You see that whatever impressions we gather from the outside world, those ideas, those impressions, those things, they are stored in our mind. They are stored in our brains. Where they are stored. And if they are stored somewhere, just like a computer, if they are stored somewhere, then they must be occupying some space, some size, zip file, PNG file. But what is the form of that file? And if we can delete those files from the human mind, then naturally space will be created in the human mind. Just like a computer, you delete some obnoxious files, virus infected files, space would be created there. And if we can do that, then that space can be filled up with positive ideas, with positive things. This is the process by virtue of which you can delete those files and create space in the human brain and fill up that with some positive ideas. These are the stages. Vitarka is the negative files, negative ideas. Once you delete, then comes the vichar. Vichar, normal ideas in our brain. You delete all those things, then the stage comes of Anand and Asmita is the final stage. I will not go into that detail. But by deleting these obnoxious files, virus infected files, you are creating some space in the human mind. And by creating and then filling that space with positive ideas, you can change the human behavior, you can change the very outlook of the human man, human person. And if all those things which he is keeping in his mind, whether he is indulging in killing somebody, terrorism, or some other forms of this violent crime, or whether he is doing those cyber crimes or those economic crimes, or whether he is indulging in some other forms of criminality like supplying drugs, doing all other illegal things. If you can delete all these things from his mind, then naturally his mind will be changed to a positive thing. And for that matter, for doing all these things, a lot of action is required at the national and the international level. First is, I am demanding that the government of India establish a research center where all these interdisciplinary things can be discussed and can be evaluated. Where neurobiology, behaviorism, yoga, criminology, Sankhya, all these things, naturalism, all these things are discussed and then some research work is carried out so that we are in a position to offer something positive to the world community at large. Then for that matter infrastructure would be required. Maybe hundreds of crores are required for that matter. And that is not the perhaps within the domain of a single individual or some small organization. That can be done by the government of India only or by the international community. Then institutionalization of the entire process. Some organization is required for carrying out all these things. And then political leadership should have the sagacity, should have the vision to take all those decisions. So for that matter, I tried to organize this function. I don't know whether I have been successful in carrying out and conveying my message or not, but I am depending upon you, the media community. And media community can, that's why I try to convince the media community that if they get convinced, then perhaps they can carry my message forward. Otherwise I would have given a small press release and that would have been sufficient. But I wanted to impress upon and I wanted to make you realize that here is something which is different and which difference it is going to create at the national and the international level, you can well imagine. And if this message goes across to the national and the international level, then perhaps I would think that I have achieved some success in doing something positive. And for that matter, I'm trying to do, for the last about 15 years, I'm trying to do something in this direction. And this entire thinking is the result of, as I said earlier, is the result of 25 years of work. And I expect all of you to please cooperate with me. Now, any questions on this?
Yes, a lot of money.
You see, firstly, the central government has to create some center, research center or study center. In fact, I tried to contact the Brain Research Center at Manesar. I tried to convince them that further studies need to be carried out in this regard, but nobody responded to that. And if the central government can take some initiative in this regard, if they can establish a research and study center, they have to invest a lot. They have to create infrastructure. And then a lot of ministries are involved in this. Education ministry is involved, resources ministry is involved, health ministry is involved, home ministry is involved. And that action can be taken only at the Prime Minister's level. And if the central government can come forward in this direction, we can change the way, we can change the whole concept about crime, and the consequences will be there for all of us to see. Any other questions, sir? That's all? Is that all?